Thank you for the nice introduction. As you can see, I'm not Greg. That's the most important bit up front. So Greg, unfortunately, wasn't able to do it today, and I'm the spontaneous jump in. My name is Joshua Schweiger. I'm a technical sales consultant with Entrust, and what I love to do is speak with customers. And what is really important to me is that this is Greg's presentation. However, I will give it a very special spin, which is more focused on what we hear from customers. So, first question, what is crypto agility? And I think there's no wrong definition here. It's, and that's for me, simply an attribute of a system. It's an attribute of a system that allows the system to transition from a legacy state into a future state within seconds by just flipping a switch. I give you a practical example. All of your customers, all of you internally, have a PKI. That PKI will at some point be useless. It will generate certificates that are not secure. At some point, you will need to switch. We don't know when that point happens, but it has to happen at some point. But there's also other definitions. Those are just three prominent examples. I have a friend. He tends to say crypto agility is a nightmare. That's the definition. Because we can't get all of our systems to be crypto-agile. And it's not the PKI, the example that I made. It's the web server. It's the switch you have that's doing 802.1x. The old switch. It's a core switch. It's old. You can't buy a new one. But these are prominent voices, and we have to listen to them. They have simple details in there that tell us that it's an urgent topic. So Caesar is saying that you have to design information systems to encourage rapid adaptations for new cryptographic primitives. That's very clear. It's very technical. The CEO of Evolution Q is saying that it implies the ability to quickly respond to a change, basically, to quickly respond to cryptography that can be broken. And NIST, and I think this is the one that we are all following the closest, is saying that crypto agility is describing the capability to replace and adapt cryptographic algorithms for protocols, applications, software, hardware, and infrastructure. And that's very important. It's not just your PKI, it's not just your web server, it's your switch. It's that one little application that some software company has developed 20 years ago that you still use for some core processes. So what can we do to navigate in crypto agility? Crypto agility is all of those. So what we do know is that there's much more than just algorithms and configuration. And also, we are looking at how can we drive the need for crypto agility? How can we define the dimensions of crypto agility? And what it brings us, the benefits, the stuff you want to hear about, so you can get this funded. Okay, so driving factors. And I didn't change this slide at all, but it completely reflects 100% what my customers are saying. Typically I get 5 points, but the 4 points that we hear is, first of all, I'm scared of a quantum computer breaking my cryptography. This is the big one that we hear right now. It's been about 3 years, in at least my feeling, that this has been thrown through every piece of marketing. And I don't think that the customers got scared of the marketing. I think it's the evolution. I've just visited a very special place. I got the opportunity to see a real quantum computer in Spain, in Barcelona, in the supercomputing lab. And the engineers and scientists there told me they will double the amount of qubits every year when they upgrade their quantum computers. And they have 2. And one is already double the power of the other one. Speaking to the IBM colleagues, and they go and tell me, realistic timeline is somewhere within the 2030s. However, there's only 1 bit missing for us to correct noise better, for us to do other stuff with it. And then there's rapid change. And we don't know when that point is. Then another big topic, and I don't think this applies to cryptography specifically, but to organizations overall, is the organizational complexity. Who has an organization where you can always buy the right tool, you can always buy the right hardware, you decide what to buy, and it's always the best solution you're buying? Who's funding that? No one. Data and device sprawl is something that's actually kind of a consequence also of the organizational complexity. So who has one cloud provider? Just one? Don't see hands. Who has two? OK, we've got two there. Three, maybe? A couple. This is the standard. Even I, as a German, and we are known for not being very progressive with what we're doing, I've seen organizations with minimum two, and three is like the standard. But there's also like tons of different devices. Who has only iOS mobile devices in their organization? Only Android? Oh, I see a hand. Only iOS? Great. That's cool. Easy to manage, right? I don't see it very typically with big organizations. They have Android, iOS, and then multiple device types, and they all manage them with one or two mobile device management instances. I say minimum two. And then there's one more topic that is really annoying, but good for all of us, and that's the short-life certificates. Don't have to talk about it. We only have 1 year left, effectively 1 year, until we get into a situation where we need to renew our certificates approximately in the time that we earlier had for just the renewal cycle. That's the maximum lifetime we will get. I'm not going to bore you too much with this. I've already talked about it. We've got the quantum timeline. This is, and I think NIST is pretty good with this. This is an important topic. And it's not just a topic that we need to care about in 2035, and also not 2030 when we want to establish our new PKI, our new HSM, etc. It's a topic for today. Because harvest now, decrypt later is a thing. You've all heard about it. There's actors who collect your data, and they keep it as a useless blob, and they hope that in 2035, they will be able to rent a quantum computer for a short amount of time and then decrypt all of your data. This is happening today. And there's also the threat of signatures, where signatures you do today will be broken in just a bit, 2035. What is 2035 in terms of time on a $20 million loan application? It's not very long. $20 million takes a long time to be paid back. And the applicant could just change the contract afterwards. Think about it. Keep it in mind. I'm not trying to scare you. It's just an important topic. Let's talk a bit about the data and device sprawl. So I had to read this a couple times, but 75 billion connected devices by 2025. So today, 75 billion. OK, expected number. But then we have 175 zettabytes. It's been a long time that I've done my education, but we learned to look at the big numbers, because sometimes you have lots of bytes. And then what I always did was count the zeros. Or my formula, what I do today, is I express everything in gigabyte. Does anyone know what 175 zettabytes is in gigabytes? It's 1 trillion per zettabyte. So 1 zettabyte is 1 trillion gigabytes. This is 175 trillion gigabytes of data that needs protection, and it will grow rapidly. This is just data that is somewhere that has your intellectual property in it, for example. Let's talk about the operational complexity. So I think when I was a PKI admin, We've had the standard tool, the general purpose software provider that offered an on-premise PKI. We used that to put certificates onto all devices that were running this operating system. Then we also had the DevOps guys who were using OpenSSL, actually, but a self-built piece of software that would create self-signed certificates for all of the containers and all of the stuff they were doing. We had no idea how many certificates that actually was. And none of it was managed. None of it was documented. A certificate wasn't a CI that we had in our CMDB. It was just there and out there because it's something that we have to use. It enables my software. And this is something that I find in organizations today, although a bit more sophisticated than that company that I've been working for. They also have a lot of other tools, vulnerability scanners that assess cryptographic data. They have multiple HSM vendors. They have all of these tools, and all of these tools access data, or most of them access data. This will change. This will have to change. Because if we look at the lower number, we see 51% of certificates and keys have no clear ownership in a standard organization. 51%, that's more than half of an important security asset. And then most organizations don't have the skill. I feel that in Germany specifically, where PKI is just a piece of software. We run it because we need it. The same counts for hardware security modules. We bought them because we wanted to connect them to our ADCS. We have no idea what they do. I'm guilty of that. I did tamper an HSM once because I put it into the back of my car, which was a very sporty car, and then I drove to one of our other offices, got to the office, presented the HSM. The guy said, "Great, you tampered it." And then, yeah, I took a few days off. Let's just say it like that. Short-lived certificates. I don't have to beat this down. It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity for all of us to get more secure. And to get more secure on the most critical attack vector that we have, the publicly exposed attack vector. And I think it's also a lesson that we can use to learn a bit for our internal environments. The internal environments, so private trust environments, have lots of certificates, and they tend to be on the longer end of the validity. At least that's my expectation. Let's talk about the different dimensions of crypto agility. So we've already established that it's a complex topic. It covers not only servers, it covers not only devices, it covers many things. But the most important thing is that technology is just one part of it. As usual with cryptographic topics, we are not using the cryptography to secure something. The cryptography is just a mechanism that we utilize to have a secure thing that we practice. So technology ties into process, ties into people. If we want to get crypto-agile, we have to respect these three dimensions. People. People play an important role. They need to practice the cryptography. I don't have a good cryptography example, but just to give you that other one, I used to work for a university, and we established a new password policy. 12, I think back then it was 12 characters, which is not long for us nowadays. But all the old employees, 50 years plus, what they did was create little Post-it notes and put them on their monitor, and it had their password on them. Like, I could literally walk through the office and find 20 passwords. There was no access control. Every student, everyone basically who could pretend to be a student, could have walked in that office and then gained access to critical data. The process. The process is where it's getting, where you have to sit down and create something that is not very funny, but it's very valuable. So the process defines how governance, compliance, policies, and processes and procedures influence cryptographic agility, meaning that you've got your policies, you write them down. You've got your processes, you write them down, you establish them, you test them, and therefore you also test your policies. And then, in the end, you write standard operating procedures. You also write down how to react in a case where you need to diverge from that. It's something you need to do today in order to practice it. And the technology is just the smallest bit of it. It's also purple here, so we are a vendor. We can help you with the technology bits. We can help you establish the other parts of it, but we're just one part, and probably not the biggest part. Let's talk about people. So it's very bad that this is already written on here. Normally, I would go and ask, what are the important points about people within that? So it's accountability. Someone needs to be accountable. Someone needs to be scared that they are fired if this goes wrong. I need to train the people, to enable them, to create awareness. It's the same with the passwords. We need to tell the people not to use the same password on every stupid thing, because the passwords get leaked. And then someone would get access to the business account. It's not only the users, it's also the other stakeholders in the business. And that involves anyone who's working in your company. And the biggest thing is to get the executives aligned with this, because they need to fund this, and it's going to be an expensive and long journey. And they will be accountable in the end. If you look at NIS2, for example, and we've had this in Germany for a long, long time, an executive who is tasked with this part of the business can be made personally viable for any damages that occur. There will be penalties. We've seen a sort of strong penalties. But this is something we've had in Germany for many, many years. As the CEO of a company, you are tasked with making the company continue to exist. If the company fails to exist, if it dies and it can't pay everyone's salary, you are personally viable for that damage. Let's talk about the process. And this is the boring part, so we will go quick. So you've got all your policies today. You've got your CP, CPS. You've got compliance policies. This is all stuff that is very useful because you have to go through it. You have to understand what's in there already and what you have to change. Then you've got to involve the risk stakeholders. Risk stakeholders are not the risk management team. Risk stakeholders are the people that participate in that risk. And you've also got to take all your vendors in. And this is a very important topic. I can, today, deliver you a quantum-safe PKI in the cloud. It takes me 5 seconds. We can test this afterwards. You can go up to me, we create it, we create you a tenant, and you can use it. If you issue a certificate, you will be able to use it on 1% of your existing processes. You want to sign a PDF? Adobe doesn't support a PQ signature. It doesn't recognize it as a valid signature. You want to do TLS? Maybe, depending on what you're doing, but most of your systems won't. Now, how can we get crypto-agile with technology? First of all, and this is the important bit, no one has to have a full PQ-ready PKI or PQ-ready HSM in place today. The starting point is understanding where you are, what you have today. What does my environment look like? How many certificates do I have? How many keys do I have? Where are they? How are they used? This is very important. Then you establish policy and control. And ideally, with all of the certificates, all of the keys, all of the secrets you have, you would then want to automate much, much more. Because we've seen it in one of the slides before, the amount of cryptographic assets will explode. Some thoughts here. We've created a new tool, and the new tool ties exactly into the into the problem statement that we've had. The idea is you've got a control plane and a data plane. And on there, you've got your management layer and your technical layer. I didn't speak about actual products a lot. They are on the bottom. So hardware security modules, certificate authorities, any integrations with key management, etc., they are on the technical layer. Whereas on the management layer, you would want to understand. This is where you can get your inventory, get an understanding of your environment, of your cryptography. Bottom, again, your PKI, your HSM. You don't need to get that today. But if you go for a new vendor, if you decide to buy a new hardware security module, pick one of the vendors that ships the hardware that is capable of being adapted at some point or is already capable of delivering what you need. And if you, on the management layer, go for a vendor in the next couple years, pick a vendor that can do crypto agility, that can apply all these things that we've talked about. What do we get out of it? And I only have 3 minutes left. So ideally, your organization is somewhere in here, and it can be at the first point, and it's very valuable. So you want to establish a group, someone who's accountable, responsible, can do it. You want to create an inventory of your data, of your cryptography, everything you have. And then you want to define your crypto agility strategy. Where do we want to be in a couple of years, and how will we do that? You then try and find the right processes, the right tools, etc. By modernizing. You use it, you trial it, you test it, and then you migrate at a later point. And then, at the very end, you'll be PQ secure. It's also important that you establish some guardrails, and that's a very short slide. If you want to move faster, rapidly, you have to establish guardrails. You have to line in what can be done, and you have to make it easy. And get your C-suite with you as well. So, just as a summary, we want to apply it by defining accountability. We want to determine who's responsible, who will be fired if it goes wrong. We want to create an inventory, then we want to get mature, and then we want to implement and execute. And this is where we need to be, at that 2035 mark. Hopefully, it will be 2035. This is a model that this will then tie into, but we don't have enough time to go over it. Just to explain, it'll score your organization on maturity against crypto agility. And if you see yourself in one of those phases, you'll be happy to be in 1. 0 would be some work to do, but 1 would be great. If you're at 2, I compliment you to the highest degree. If you're at 3, I haven't seen 3 so far, but I would love it. And 4 would be great, but we probably don't have it. Thank you so much. Again, I'm not Greg. We now have a couple seconds left for questions, maybe a couple minutes. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask them. We have a microphone, so if you raise your hand, you'll get the microphone.
Great presentation, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Since we're at the OpenSSL Conference, I'm curious your perspective. What should the OpenSSL project be doing to help with this crypto agility journey?
So this is a really good point. I think your steps forward have enabled a lot of developers, and I mean not the big corporations, not the CA vendors, etc., but specifically the small developers, the vibe coders, the small teams, etc., to utilize PQ-ready algorithms. Having a tool set that enables you to utilize the future for free on every developer's machine is a great step forward. And I do not count you into the list of vendors that don't support PQ, so I really applaud you for that.
I think we'll have to cut it there. Josh, will you be available after for additional questions?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Great presentation.
Thank you so much.